USB microphones, XLR microphones, there are hundreds out there, and to be honest, it's quite difficult to know what's actually worth getting. And I can imagine if you're someone looking to buy a microphone, finding one that actually suits what you need is probably quite easy, but there's just so many to choose from. Well, in today's video, I'm taking a look at the FIFINE K690, and yes, probably adding another microphone into the mix to confuse you even more. This USB microphone costs around £75 here in the UK, and it has some really great options for recording audio. It's also extremely highly rated on Amazon, although Amazon reviews can be a little bit iffy, and I'll be doing a video about that actually coming up. And if you look at the design of this thing, it's very similar to the Blue Yeti, a microphone that many content creators and gamers are well acquainted with. But this microphone costs nearly £30 less. This microphone is also the big brother of the FIFINE K678, and later on in the video I'll be doing an audio comparison between the two. And there is quite a big price difference between the two, so it's worth sticking around if you want to know which one to get. So I'm using this microphone right now, and you can see it just kind of at the bottom of the shot here, and usually I don't keep microphones in shot, but in order to get better quality, this needs to be closer to my mouth. You may also notice that I'm having to sort of bend over a little bit to talk into it, and that's because this microphone is quite low down. If I actually just sat up straight and spoke, I'd be speaking right over the microphone, and the audio quality wouldn't be as good as if I'm talking into it like I am now. Personally, I prefer using a boom arm with my microphones for this very reason. So in terms of specifications, the microphone has a 40 to 20 kHz frequency response, so it should pick up a great range of sounds. Its signal to noise ratio is only 65 decibels, which isn't that good, meaning you may get that unwanted hiss in recordings and hums, depending on what gain you set this microphone to. And when you open up the box, you get the microphone, which is attached to the stand, a USB-A to USB Mini B cable, and a little screw-in mount adapter for boom arms. My first gripe right out of the box is the fact that this microphone isn't USB-C. Now whenever I see this old school USB, it sets me back mentally like 10 years, but it's not a big deal and it works anyway. The microphone itself is built like a tank and is very similar in build and functions to the Blue Yeti that so many people are already familiar with. And I really like the matte black texture here of the FIFINE microphone, as it gives it an understated and classy feel. The stand is also fully removable, so you can attach the microphone to a boom arm, and if you decide to keep it on the stand, the microphone does rotate 360 degrees for easy transportation. Under the microphone we have the USB port, so you can connect this to a computer, as well as a zero latency headphone output. And yes, there is virtually no latency with this mic, which is great. At the front we have the mute button, which is visualized with an LED. Just toggle this to mute and unmute. When the LED is green, the microphone is on, and when it's red, it's muted. Under the mute button we have the headphone volume control, which is nice and smooth to use, although there is a slight wobble to it. So turning the mic around, we have two more control knobs. The top one is to adjust the microphone's gain, and the bottom is a knob to adjust the pickup pattern. The microphone has 4 pickup patterns: stereo, omnidirectional, cardioid, and bidirectional. If you're doing primarily voiceovers, you want to be in cardioid mode. So here's a quick test of all the different audio modes so you can get an idea of how these sound. This is the stereo mode, and in theory you should be able to hear as I move around the mic, which is quite cool depending on the effect that you want, and this does record audio to 2 different channels. This mode can be good for recording instruments to give your audio some depth. Now this mode isn't ideal for vocals, but it is quite good if you're someone that likes to do ASMR. The next mode we have is omnidirectional, and this is good for conference calls or if there's lots of different people around the microphone. So if I pick up the microphone and actually twist it around, I should sound pretty much the same the whole way around. And yeah, do I? Hopefully I do. I should do. This mode isn't good though for isolating vocals because it will pick up noises from behind. For example, if I click, you're going to hear that quite loudly on the other side of the microphone. Next we have the cardioid mode, and this really is just for vocals, podcasts, voiceovers and stuff like that. This picks up audio from this kind of angle and tries to cancel out everything else behind it. So if I do the click again, it shouldn't be anywhere near as loud as it was in the previous recordings. At least I hope not. You're going to hear that quite loudly on the other side of the microphone. This is probably the cleanest of all of the modes and the one that I use the most. Finally, we have the bidirectional, and this is similar in ways to the omnidirectional, except for it doesn't pick up audio from the sides, and instead just picks up audio from the front and back. So again, if I pick up the microphone and I turn it around, it should sound pretty much the same as it did from the front. But if I talk in the side, this should sound quieter, or at least off mic. This mode's good if you're planning to do a podcast and have someone sat directly opposite you and want to record it, but again, if you're just recording yourself, it's going to pick up a lot of background noise that you're not going to want. So that's how the K690 sounds, and in my opinion it sounds pretty good, at least to my ears. I think this sounds a lot better than some options out there, and I think when you consider the price, you get some really good audio quality here. There are only two complaints I have about this microphone, and the first is the fact that it's quite low down, so if you want the best audio quality you're going to find yourself kind of bending into it and talking downwards rather than being able to sit upright and actually use like your whole diaphragm and stuff, so that's not really a good thing about this microphone, and I definitely recommend getting a boom arm. My second complaint is that the signal to noise ratio isn't the best, and you do tend to pick up a lot of hum and background noise with this mic. Now I usually use the Rode NT1A, which apparently is like one of the world's quietest microphones in terms of room noise, and I can tell the difference immediately. When I use that microphone, I can barely hear anything in terms of noise and ambient, like any kind of ambient sounds, but with this microphone I feel like there's a lot more humming, there's a lot more computer noises and like all the stuff in the background that kind of messes up the audio. This isn't really a big deal though, because you can just put on some noise reduction and it should get rid of most of it. And that's the thing, so many of you will be taking this microphone and then doing a bit of post-production that any kind of issue with the microphone can usually be edited out in some way or another. It's definitely not a bad microphone, put it that way. But if you're someone that wants cleaner audio right out of the box, maybe you want to look at a different microphone. Now the K690 is a good microphone, but in all honesty it's very similar to the K678, which I've got in front of me as well. And in a second I'm going to switch to the K678, and you guys can decide if you think the K690 is worth the extra price. If you're someone that's not actually going to use any of these extra features that the K690 has, then the K678 may be the better option. Okay, so now I'm using the K678, which admittedly is a little bit shorter, so the audio won't be exactly the same. There's going to be some differences of course, but just listen to the actual sound of the recording. Do you think that the K690 justifies that extra £20? If not, you may be better off just getting the K678. Okay, so back on the K690 now. What do you guys think of the audio quality? Honestly, I think it sounds good, and to be honest, there's not much else I can say about this mic. The design, in my opinion, is pretty much flawless, nothing I can complain about. I like the look of it, but what can you say about it? It sounds good, it looks good, it's a good microphone. And if you're someone looking for a fairly budget microphone, then I think this is a great option. If you are looking for a microphone and don't need all the features this microphone has, I do recommend the FIFINE K678. And that's it for my review of the K690. There's nothing else really I can say about this. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, it really helps out the channel. If you want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon as well, and you'll be notified when I upload something new. Check me out on Instagram as well, and be sure to follow me because that's where I post all my photography stuff, so it'd be nice to see you guys over there. And that's it. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.